Hello, hello everyone. Dr. B is in the house and we are so happy to be here today. We have some amazing guests on our show today. This is Radio Metroplex, Facturando Tu Historia, or in other words, Power Talk radio show, where we inspire, motivate, and give people the courage so that they can step into their greatness. And I am delighted that you are joining us here today. And here with me, I have Lee Wills. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And today our topic is all about leadership. And not only leadership, but from zero to high rating profits, right? I mean, you took your business from nothing to a high rated business. I think that's really amazing to hear and to share that story with our audience today. So we are going to be telling our stories today. And then you could just
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And so if you can tell us, we are on Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and for those of you that are watching on YouTube, we want to thank you too. So just tell us, like, every person that comes here, I always ask them the same question, like, tell me some type of struggle that you had that gave you the idea of, you know what, I'm going to do what you're doing now and then led you to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I think for me, the struggle you're talking about is losing my dad. And the death of my father, and through that process of getting the ranch turned around, and Mom called me, and at one point she said, you've got to come take this because it's too big. There's too much. I can't even mow the yard here. I don't want to be here without your dad. And so we started the process of working through that, and it's from that weight of responsibility and taking over those all that work. One day driving home, I had the idea of producing a certain type of beef. I call it whole ground beef. From there, that's how we got to here. You know, serving that, offering that, and out of that hardship and a horrible time, now we sit here and we can smile about the accomplishment or what it's become, while still missing him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the struggle.
And you know, that's why, like, I love this show. And ever since I was young, I would see there's this show in Spanish where they would tell stories, and it always captivated me and it motivated me to keep going because I would hear these inspiring stories. So the whole focus of the show is to tell people, like, hey, we've been there, we've struggled, we continue to go through some struggles at times, but we keep going, and because of some chaos in our life, it leads us to where we're at today. And now you have an amazing restaurant where we were talking about these hamburgers, and I mean, I was already savoring them, and I'm like, oh my God, I want those hamburgers. Yeah. So we need to go allá, okay, a comer sus hamburguesas.
Okay.
So
they're okay. They're all right.
Well, it's more than all right.
They're edible.
It's more than all right, because you were telling me that after 3 months, it immediately, the rate went up, and you had a very good outcome of clients that were, raving about your hamburgers. So tell us more about that.
It was an amazing start. We started out just for the first year selling beef. So we just sold beef for pickup, delivery, home use. and people kept saying, you need to open a restaurant, you need to use this beef and do some burgers or something, and we'd laugh about it and go on, and about a year in, we had an opportunity to get a hold of a restaurant, and an amazing, that's a longer story than what I have time for, but an amazing downtown Rockwall location, which is impossible to find. It's impossible to, even if you know everybody, it's impossible to get that. And so we had an opportunity to get an amazing location. And so we put some word out, some information out. We scheduled a 3-day opening. And from that, we sold tickets, and we sold out soft opening tickets. And then from there, it just kept growing, and people kept talking about it. And yeah, the first thing we ever won, we were open 4 months, and by that Christmas season, we won our very first Rockwall County Best Burger Award. And
wow.
We beat out some really, really good competition, amazing people downtown Rockwall with us. There's counting us, there's 5 great hamburgers downtown. You could just eat a hamburger a day every day of the week down there, and a different one, and be better than most towns have to offer. I mean, from chefs to guys that have been down there doing it since the 60s. Just an array of talent and different types of food and burgers. And for us to take that win, it was emotional. It was a big deal. And then from there we won again, and we've continued so far. 5 years running, we've won Best Burger Award in Rockwall County in that area. So it's just a great honor. It's amazing. I'm riding this with everybody else, and just thankful every day that we get to do it.
I love it. And it all happened with your dad. Your dad had that idea of opening up the burger place, or that started with you?
When he passed, and I took over the restaurant, I took over the ranch and worked the cattle, and just I felt closer to him out there. We had so many memories growing up out there on the ranch, and I didn't want to leave that. I wasn't going to sell it. It wasn't for sale. It was going to be in the family. And then one day, driving home back to Rockwall, I had the idea of what we call whole ground beef. And what that is growing up on a ranch, we would have cattle, and we just, with 2 boys and us, we just did a lot of hamburger meat. So we didn't even get steaks or roast or anything like that done on the cattle. Dad would have it all put into hamburger meat. And it was the best hamburger meat growing up that you could find anywhere. And when we'd run out of that, Mom would have to go to the grocery store, and I could tell when she started cooking it in the pan, that wasn't ours. The smell was different, the taste was different. She had to season it different, and the idea hit me that day coming home. I bet you there's a market in our community for beef that's pasture raised, not in a feedlot, no hormones, no antibiotics, grass fed, just grass finished, very healthy, and then to put all those cuts in to have that flavor and to have that quality of beef. And I guess I was right. Looking back 5, 6 years, we've been able to see it become something great. So, yeah.
It's amazing. I want to go, but I want to be able to blindfold myself and then taste it, because I think I have to work on my taste buds. But I think I get what you're saying, just because we think hamburgers are hamburgers.
Yeah.
But
and
in reality,
they are most places. Most places, hamburgers are hamburgers.
Okay.
And the differentiating factors in most hamburgers across the nation are the toppings, the type of bread. There's a burger restaurant in our town that has peaches on it. Just all kinds of toppings. The crazier, the better for some basic. But the difference isn't the meat. The difference is what you put on it, or how you dress up the flavors. And kind of the meat is just almost like a static part that doesn't change, and we change the meat, and then we have some crazy toppings too. But the meat does make all the difference.
What's one of your craziest toppings?
Probably my craziest burger. Well, I've got a few, but the one that I tell people, if a celebrity chef walks in and says, give me your burger," what's going to say Wells? It's called the Bacon Blue, and so it's crispy bacon and of course a 1/3 pound patty, and then grilled onions and blue cheese, pickles, and then our peanut butter sauce.
Oh wow!
So the peanut butter sauce is we make in house, and that with the blue cheese, it tones it down, it mellows it a little bit, it gives it a touch of sweetness, and then the pickles are your salty, kind of a bitter type taste, and then you've got the savory of the cheese, and then the bacon, the saltiness, and it kind of gives you all of the elements that you want in one bite. It's you got to tell your brain that's your brain has to let you say, okay, yeah, that is good. That's not crazy. That's part of one of our. And then I have a PBJ bacon burger, which is our peanut butter sauce and grape jelly and crispy bacon and beef, and people love that burger. I've got a brunch burger, which is on waffles, and we do an egg and bacon and cheese and our peanut butter sauce on that one too, and a little bit of pancake syrup on the meat. So we've got some. You could do just a standard lettuce tomato burger like you would anywhere else.
Yummy.
You can do that. You can do that too.
Yummy. So, this is the question for you: are burgers just burgers? And if they are, tell me why. We want to know. And what would be your favorite topping? Like, go ahead and comment, engage with us, and then ask him anything you want, because it's important for us to know what type of burger you like,
and maybe if you've ever been. It's a
yeah,
good question.
yeah,
Has any of your listeners, have y'all ever been to Wells, and what'd you think?
yeah. What did you think about that burger? And your bun has the word Wells.
Mm-hmm. We brand our
You
buns.
brand your bun. They brand their buns.
Yeah. You want me to tell you the story? Because
Yes.
we didn't do that starting out. So actually starting out, we put everything in a bag, kind of like Five Guys does.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was just in a bag. We had a little small seating area, and we have a whole lot of stuff downtown, concerts and a park right behind us, and we figured people would just take it to go more than sit down and eat. And we were wrong. We got some bad reviews. We got some bad feedback right away. And can I talk about my book that's coming out?
Sure.
In my book that's coming out, I talk about how bad reviews can actually shape your future if you look at them correctly. And that chapter of subtitles called From Crappy to Happy. Because
I love it. From crappy to happy. I love it.
We felt so bad because people were being just real honest, and they were accompanying that with a 1-star review, and trying to get our attention. And one of the reviews I'll never forget said, "Your burger's too good to be thrown in a bag." And I thought, you know what? I can grow from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I'll show you. And we put it on a paper product tray, and we got a matching cup for the fries, and I branded the buns. I got a brander, put our Wells across the top of the bun, and then when you see that coming out, one of the best marketing deals that I've ever done, because people will take a picture, tag, and post if they're there because it's different, and it has become one of the coolest things ever. But it came out of me being pretty mad and pretty frustrated and saying, quit talking about us like that, and I'm going to show you.
And let's go into that. I just want to say, hola Diamantina, ojalá que quieras ir a comer hamburguesas con ellos. Okay? She's saying hi. So that's his wife. So let's talk about reviews, because people hate reviews and they're afraid of bad comments. But I think that, even when people criticize us, judge us, they give us the reviews, they help us grow. And I think that's what it did to you, right?
It did.
When you listen to it.
I think we had to learn pretty quickly to be humble. We didn't know everything. We still don't know everything. And that's our approach to reviews and feedback. I would rather somebody be honest and tell me what they think than to hide it, not say anything, and then not come back. My dad told me one time, I was just dating my wife, that we've been married 26 years now. This last week, 26 years, and we were dating, and we went to this steak restaurant in Dallas. My dad and I, we'd all passed it several times, and we said, one of these days I'm going to go there. Well, I took her on a date there, and we got home, and my dad said, well, how was it? I said, it wasn't any good. The meat was fatty, it just wasn't any good. And he said, and I said, I'm not ever going back. And he said, did you tell the manager? I said, no. He said, then you have to either tell the manager or you have to go back. I said, why? What are you talking about? He said, because you owe it to that man and that staff to be honest with them and give them a chance to make it right and improve. You can't just walk away from them and never go back. And that was, I was young, I was just a kid, and that stuck with me. I would rather someone hurt my feelings and be ugly to my face and give me a chance to make it right for you, make you happy, or at least try. Apologize at least, and then show you that we're not just a chain, we're not just somebody out there trying to take $1 from you. We care about every part of what we do, and it's an honor when people do that, and they give me the courtesy and the respect to say this wasn't right, because it's easy to fix while you're there. Oh, I had a guy the other day say, "Where's my bacon? You forgot my bacon." I said, "Oh man, hold on 1 second. It was an honest mistake. You know, it's a hard way to make a living stealing people's bacon. That's that's hard. That's a hard way to make a profit. I'm not doing that to people, not on purpose." And so I had 2 pieces of fresh, crispy bacon. He put on his burger. He was happy. It wasn't a thing. But if he'd have left there mad, gave me a bad review, and said these people are cheating us, they don't care about my order and all, that wasn't true. It's just a mistake. But mistakes can be helpful if we allow them to be, or they can be hurtful if we don't. And so I'm always up for someone talking to me about it. And I learned that early. I owe it to that place. If I care about them staying open and doing better next time, I owe it to them to give them that feedback.
And it does, sometimes it does bother us because we want to be perfect,
We're trying hard.
Yeah, and we're trying hard to do the best that we can, and we make a mistake, or we don't do something right based on somebody else's expectation. And when they give us feedback, then sometimes it hurts, and we either get mad and upset, and we don't want to change, and it's like, well, just leave if you don't like it. But I don't think that's the attitude, The attitude should be, let me look at it and try to make things better.
I think humility is where that's at. It is not trying to have all the answers every day, but trying our best to serve every day, which comes with mistakes. But if my heart and my attitude is to help you and to make you happy, then those mistakes are just an opportunity for me to show you how much you care to us. And so we are always honored when somebody would give it to us. But they don't. Sometimes they don't. They save up all the infractions and give us a bad review, and they're ugly about it. And I don't understand that. Maybe they bring that in from their life outside and bring it into our restaurant. Maybe something sometimes happens in there that just ticks them off. They're mad. I don't know. But I think a lot of bad reviews walk in from outside. I really do. Because if you're having a great day, you're there with some friends, you're laughing and cutting up, and somebody forgets your bacon. You just say, "Hey, can I get some bacon?" And you're continuing to talk and have a good time. That's not a bad review. It's not worthy of a bad review when you're having a great day. Now, if everything's gone wrong and you're in the midst of life crisis and everything is bad in your life, and then someone forgets the bacon and something else doesn't work quite right, you brought that from outside, and it was still our mistake, but the reaction was more severe because of the person rather than the mistake. So I always, when I go out to eat, which is a lot, I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt, let them fix it, let them see what they're going to do about it, however they can help it. I'm I'm going to accept that, and I don't read bad reviews very often. Being in the industry though, it kind of helps you.
It helps. And entertainment and rock and roll. And also, we are here every Friday at 5 p.m. Central. So make sure that you stay tuned with us every Friday. We bring amazing guests that tell their stories so that we can inspire, motivate, and give people the courage to step into their greatness. Today, like I said, I have Lee and I also have Kevin Wayne Johnson. Welcome, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you for being here. I just want to say that Kevin, I met him in Vegas, and he is part of the Et Matadores um, book collaborative that we have, and also Dr. Connor is here with us. Welcome, Michael Connor.
How are you? How are you, Dr. B? Good to see you.
I am doing fabulous. Thank you, both of you, for saying yes and being here with us online. This is Lee here. And so I'm going to start with Kevin. Well, I just need to say that I met these gentlemen. I don't know that I met you, Dr. Connor.
No, we have
I
not met
think you
yet.
were in
We
Vegas,
met.
right?
We met through Dr. Valise.
Yes, we met through Dr. Valise. But these gentlemen are part of the Et Matador movement. We're not trying, we are going to create a movement to create some change in the educational system so that we can really help students learn and just transform it, because there's a lot of gaps in the educational system that need to be changed. And these gentlemen have amazing ideas on how to do it, and they're going to be sharing their stories in the Ed Matador book by writing a chapter. And Dr. Kevin, is it Dr. Kevin or just Kevin? I'm sorry.
Kevin, not
Kevin,
doctor.
not doctor. Okay, Kevin, I know that you have a tour and you've been going around, talking about leadership. Tell us a little bit more of who you are, where you're from, and why you're doing what you're doing.
Okay, happy to, and thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on your program. I am a native of Richmond, Virginia. Goes all the way back to my great grandparents on both my paternal and my maternal side. I attended high school there, and I attended college there, Virginia Commonwealth University. And after graduating from VCU, I matriculated to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and the Maryland area in pursuit of better opportunities for jobs. I landed with the federal government 1 year out of college, and it was my mother's recommendation. And I ended up staying 34 years. So after I retired back in 2017, one of the many things that I've noticed is that there is a discrepancy between what workers are looking for from their leaders and what leaders are actually delivering. There's a difference of opinion. And so, as a chief of staff in my final role with the Department of Defense at one of the major directorates, I just kind of looked in the mirror and asked myself, well, what are you going to do about it? And from that conversation, I started a company post retirement called the Johnson Leadership Group. And I have a group of 10 people that work with me, diverse professionals, men and women, who are certified in their profession to educate, to impart knowledge, to heighten the level of awareness in terms of what it takes to be a good leader. Leaders need more than just subject matter expertise and acumen, but leaders also need a personal touch, developing relationships with the people that they are entrusted to lead. So that's really my story. That's the space and the place that I operate. We work with government agencies, corporations, churches, nonprofit organizations, and academia, because that's where people are. And leadership development, training, executive coaching, also training and consultation in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion is our expertise. And I smile a lot because I really, really like what I do. It's been really, really fulfilling, and I feel that we've only touched the surface. I'll conclude by saying this: I do believe that better leaders help to make the world a much better place. So, what we can do is get into the trenches of these organizations and help to train the workforce on what it takes to be a better leader individually, for their teams, for the organization as well. And that's what we do, and that's why I'm excited to be connected with you and the rest of the team.
I love it. Thank you. Can you tell us, can you share a story that was kind of chaotic and led you to what you're doing today?
Kind of chaotic.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can I can probably think of a ton of examples, but the one example that I would share with you is my 11th grade English one-on-one teacher. So, as a product of a military household, my brother and I had to move around quite a bit because in the military, men and women get orders and they have to relocate to a different duty station. So, before I finished high school, my family and I, we probably relocated 7 or 8 different times. It makes it tough. And in my 11th grade year is the year that my dad retired from the Marine Corps, and we had to relocate from the high school that I was thriving in as a 10th grader to a brand new high school as an 11th grader where nobody knew me and I didn't know anybody else. And my 11th grade English 101 teacher really kind of came to my rescue at the right time, and as a leader was able to pour into me to encourage me, lift me up, give me some inspiration. And she did a really, really big favor for me. I won't tell the whole story, but the favor that she did for me was that I tried out for the varsity basketball team and I didn't make it. And that's pretty debilitating for a young man, 16 years old in the 11th grade. Everybody in the school knows that Kevin Johnson didn't make the team, but she saw me excel in her class. I gravitated toward the English language, and she went to that basketball coach, unbeknownst to me, to ask him to give me a shot at being the announcer for the home games. My voice behind the microphone, doing the play by play, announcing the home team, announcing the guest team. That led to, quite frankly, what I ended up doing for a living, working with the federal government, and even now, you know, speaking goes hand in hand with training, that goes hand in hand with teaching, that goes hand in hand with mentoring and coaching. And she brought out something in me that I didn't even know that I had the potential to do at 16 years of age. She did a really, really big favor for me. And that's a great example of what leaders do. Leaders see the potential in other people that they don't necessarily see, and they pour into them as a way of picking them up and making a positive impact. So that's
I
just
love it.
probably one of hundreds of stories that I have.
I love it. I love it because that's what happens, right? He was even sharing his story too, where his dad had passed away, and then he moved back home and came up with the idea, and he opened up a restaurant, and it's not just a restaurant. They sell amazing hamburgers, very tasteful hamburgers, and I think that every leader has a vision, but somebody inspires us to step into that the bigger potential that we have inside. Sometimes we don't even see it ourselves. Somebody else has to see it. Someone else has to believe in it before we even believe in it ourselves.
I think
And,
sometimes it's easier for someone else to see it
mhm.
than for us to see it. Would you agree with that?
Oh,
That
yeah, absolutely. So
yeah,
that's a great point. Being observant,
Yeah.
being a good listener, being a good communicator, being able to discern what's going on around us, has a lot to do with part of the characteristics of a good leader, because our focus is on others and not so much on ourselves. So I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
Absolutely, I love it. And Dr. Connor, again, welcome. And can you share your story? Like, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. I know that you've been a superintendent, a principal, and you've also been in different leadership roles.
Yes,
Tell
yes,
us more.
yes. Thank you, Dr. B. So originally from Connecticut, and same thing with what you just stated with my educational trajectory. Started out as a fourth grade teacher, a variety of different leadership roles that you articulated, and now, as you stated at the outset, right? Education needs this fundamental change, this radical change, because of the economic demands, the shifts that we're seeing with technology and the AI explosion. And we haven't really changed our own business model, still parochial, static, factory model, regurgitation of information. We could go on and on, Dr. B. And have this urgency that, we need to, build collective professional capacity around what these changes look like. And more importantly, to ensure we don't leave two generations behind, Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Obviously, they're the digital natives, global mindsets. Really want to ensure that they're leveraging technology, and they're asking a lot of questions, a lot of social justice perspectives and movements that they're stating across the country. So right now we're seeing this disjunction between the demands of the students currently and a 210-year-old model that we're still underpinning, as if we're preparing students for a future we don't know about. So I started my own corporation, developed a conceptual model to help guide this change for school leaders as well as districts, including higher education, to prepare the teachers for the next demand and generation of students right now. My conceptual model that I developed is research-based as well as scientifically based. So you're seeing this research and education, or I should say research and computer science, business science concepts coming together as one, so that we're creating this emergent operating model, or this emergent model for students, so that we're flexible and agile, and providing the capabilities and strategies across the country as well as internationally to support that. So it's what Kevin stated, right? It's around leadership. And we need leadership to be able to guide this, communicating the key points of the change. And then hopefully we can be able to continue to enhance these shifts and accelerations that we're seeing in education. So it's been fun. Been fun going across the country, been fun going internationally and speaking about this. But I think that, since the pandemic, more people are open to these aggressive and progressive changes that we're seeing. And progressive, what I mean, the changes that we need to see, so that we can be in alignment to our two generations that we're educating.
Yeah, I think we do have to have like radical changes. And not only that, because there's a future that we don't even know about. Like we watched the Johnsons, right? Was it the Johnsons, the cartoon? Yeah.
Jetsons.
Oh, the Jetsons. Today I'm giving you a cartoon, Mr. Johnson. The Jetsons, yeah.
Literally.
It was the Jetsons. I mean, they created that cartoon way back, and they had like what we're doing now. We're watching each other on the screen, and like we thought that only existed in the TV and the.
I need one of those flying cars.
Yeah, we need
I need a flying car.
Now we need the flying cars. But everything else has come true, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's amazing. And I know that there's a lot of careers that we're not even touching in the educational system in the sense of preparing our kids for those careers that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like even you, I mean, the restaurant business, I mean, how do we get students to be interested in that field of entrepreneurship?
Yes.
I started out as an electrical engineer with a degree, so I went into technology, and then I ended up coming full circle back home. So I think education is one of the most powerful things that we can give to our children, but it doesn't necessarily pigeonhole them into one thing and that's it. But I think if we can teach people how to learn and teach people how to teach, and I don't know these gentlemen here, they sound real smart, but I don't know them. I believe that they might agree that education is more about potential than it is even the information that we're learning at the time, because I don't do technology what I was trained to do as much, but I still have to learn and I still have to take information and process and take the outcomes. And I think what we're saying here is doesn't necessarily mean it's going that one career path, but it gives you a broader perspective of where you can go. The more education you have, the more understanding you have about the realities of life, how we integrate with cultures, how we get along with each other, how we care and love each other has a whole lot to do with where we go in life. And those are educational backgrounds and fundamentals that I think we should do a lot better.
Right. And even the language, because I've traveled around the world, and what I've noticed, like in France and London and these other countries, they know 3 to 4 languages. And here, the majority will only know 1 language, or
We can
I know 2.
barely speak English.
We
Right?
can barely
Right.
speak English, right? But I think it's important to explore different languages, different cultures,
Sure.
problem solving, exploration. Like, how do we research? How do we discover things more than? I mean, I don't want to get into the technical part of it, but give me your input, Dr. Connor and Kevin.
Yeah, no, Dr. B, you're correct. Both of you are correct. You know, when we're going back to the Jetsons, I always said the Jetsons predicted the future, right? When we talk about telehealth, right? You know, we saw George Jetson, you know, having his doctor's appointment in 1962. And, you know, episodes back then that we're seeing now, yeah, they predicted the future. But, you know, absolutely right about the entrepreneurship, right? And when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's just not linear to just developing businesses. It's developing those key skills around problem solving, problem seeking to be able to solve problems, and developing solutions around those problems. Schools aren't designed like that.
Right.
Also, when we talk about technology, right, by 2030, the computer science industry is going to, jobs are going to increase by 13%. That's 667,000 jobs. And information technology, the workforce is going to increase by 23%, which is roughly around 235,000 jobs. So if we think about the current construct of how we're educating kids, not developing kids from this holistic standpoint, but only using summative scores to measure their outcomes, which only utilizes 15% of the brain and less than 10% of the skills that they have to articulate on a summative assessment. That means we're not educating our kids to the full totality to prepare them for the future. So I think that, you know, obviously we have to make these radical shifts and changes, also in grounding entrepreneurship, as well as skills around technologies and competencies to prepare them for a future that we don't know. But again, we might see those flying cars within the next 5 to 6 years. You know, they're forecasting that algorithms within the next couple years, because of the advancements of AGI, not AI, but AGI, and prompt engineering, that we're going to have algorithms smarter than the human brain. So once we start seeing that in a couple of years, we're going to see these new evolutions that are just going to be, you know, surprising us. But education is still going to be grounded in what I call the Jeffersonian model. So if we don't have this radical change in education, we're not going to prepare our students for the future of workforce. You know, if we continue educating the kids and put this high perseveration on summative assessments, we're not going to necessarily give our kids the competencies to prepare them for the future of work. So we're in this, I like to say, this dichotomy and conundrum, where we don't know what this looks like, but we know we're in trouble if we don't change.
Yes. Even leadership skills, right, Kevin? Like, we have to be able to teach our kids some of these skills, because the leadership skills take us to that next level. They help us even lead, not only lead, but being able to see the bigger picture. So what
Yeah.
would you say about that?
Yep, absolutely. Well, Dr. B, you're on to something. Let me go back to a comment you made a little bit earlier about people in other countries speaking fluently 3 or 4 languages, and here in America, we're still trying to gravitate toward just one. In my household, we required that all of our sons, we have 3 sons, they had to have a passport before you get your driver's license. Right.
Okay.
So you travel abroad and you sort of understand what's going on outside of these United States, how people live, their cultures, the restaurants, the food they eat, how they interact with each other, their personalities. It's all part of their growth, understanding their culture. And then bringing it back home as it relates to growing and grooming and pouring into our future leaders. It's all about really helping them to understand their potential. There's a saying that I use all the time, and you've probably heard it, but I tell people all the time, listen, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And so we're here to help you to expand your scope and get outside of your sandbox so you'll get a chance to really know yourself and know others. So we've introduced a number of assessments to go along with any type of training that we give because we want people to first assess yourself. What do you think about yourself in terms of your communication style, your conflict management style, your leadership style? And then we provide a nice robust report that they can look at and read, and we walk them through it and analyze it, and that kind of helps people understand, well, maybe this is a good career field for me, because you start to learn things about yourself that you don't really know. And we also incorporate a number of different exercises into helping people to be better leaders, such as what are your core values? I mean, what's really, really important to you? Do you value friendship? Do you value family? Do you value camaraderie, collaboration, partnership, cooperation? And then let's have a conversation about that. How to set strategic goals, how to prioritize. All of these things are very, very educational. That's why I'm excited about this project. Getting people to sort of see, like you said, the big picture. We continue to look through our own lens, and we see the world the way that we see the world. But I always encourage people to continue to do that, but see the big picture from a different perspective. And that different perspective is other people's perspective. So having people to be well rounded, you're absolutely right. Not so much going toward a particular career field, but let's take a look at the big picture as a means of helping people to tap into their potential to be the best that they can be.
And I think it's important that we evaluate our own core values, because based on whatever we value, then that's how we're making decisions. So if we don't know what's really important for us, what our hierarchy of values are, and what order they're in, I think that's even important, because I practice neurolinguistic programming, and that's one of the concepts that we look at is like, okay, what are your values? How are you prioritizing them? Because it's going to impact our decision making, and then we have to look at our beliefs, because they can tint our actions, and then we're not getting the results that we want, but it's because we don't have our values in the right order. It's like you calling me on my phone and not being able to communicate with me because you have one digit out of sequence, and it's the same thing with the core values. If one of your core values are out of sequence, you cannot reach that amazing radical change that you want to make as a leader. Um, Anyways, any feedback?
I was just going to add to that that line of thought about discovery, self-discovery. It's been said that there's 3 kinds of information, and I don't know if this is probably in a study somewhere that I have no idea.
It's out there.
It's the information that you know about yourself. We all know what we think we know about ourselves, but then there's the information that someone can tell us about ourselves, and so we can learn from. You can tell me something, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see that. I didn't realize I was doing that. Thank you. And then there's a third kind, and this is the most rare information that we can ever find out about ourselves, and that is when we find out information about ourselves that other people know, but they don't want us to know that they said about us. And that secret information is the most life-changing information that there is, because we know what we think. That could be right or wrong. You can feel comfortable telling me certain things, but what are the things that really are true about me? Everyone else can see it, but nobody tells me. And if we had a system and we had a way to feel comfortable helping people see that, it's kind of like the bad reviews we were talking about a while ago. They don't really want to tell me to my face, but they let me know anyway. Well, if there's a way you can interpret that to grow and change and improve, I think that we're on track. I want to say one more thing about education, if I can. And I'm just glad to be here, guys. I'm glad to talk with you. I really feel like sometimes in our education system, and my mother's a retired English and Spanish teacher. She was also certificate. She was a principal certificate, and all of that. So a lifetime of being corrected by my mother for my bad grammar. But I almost feel like there's times where the system fights and squelches the attempts to do the things that you're talking about doing. It's almost like it goes against the whole system to even bring that up. Don't even talk about that. That's not what we're here for. You fill out this test question, you do this, you pass this exam, and you go on to another person's class. And there's almost like there's no space, there's no place to talk about those very, very important parts of our lives that no one told me in school that I had. No one told me in school that I was an entrepreneur, but I've started 7 companies. No one told me that I had this ability to start something from nothing, but I've done it 7 times successfully. Where do we get that mechanism broken into the old systems, the Jeffersonian, the old ways of doing things? How do we do it?
I think we start with student voice, right? The one thing that we see is a lot of the bureaucrats trying to create the education environment for our customers. But we all know as entrepreneurs and leaders is that we have to listen to the voices of our most important customers. And the educational lens is the students and the families. It's just like we have to take that design thinking approach. The first step of design thinking is empathy. And once we collect the information from our students, from our families, we bring that back and design in accordance to that and develop the models that serve our students and families. So the traditional normalization of the hierarchy top down has to end, where we have to really take in consideration of the people that we serve. It's a service delivery model. That's what education is supposed to be. And we have to be customer centric simultaneously. So once we make those shifts, and then we have to, as a collective within the ecosystem, is we have to learn to unlearn to relearn, right? We have to learn and we have to relearn these new skills, these new competencies as educators, or have to unlearn it first and then relearn it in order to start implementing it. So I think we have to take steps, but going back to really understanding what your interests are, what your true ability is, as opposed to just a metric for achievement. We have to be able to understand who we're servicing. And right now, our kids that we're servicing, they choose collaboration and they choose relevance over compliance. The way all of us have been educated was compliance driven. We were strategically compliant to get an A. If we got an A, we're going to be like, hey, Kevin, you're smart. Hey, Michael, you're smart. But does that really ground the interest and the ability of our students? No. So now we have to be able to discover the future entrepreneurs. We have to discover who the future computer scientists are. We have to discover, what our kids are interested in and create those environments for them. That's scary in the ecosystem, because how are we trained? We were trained in a traditional model. How were we developed? We were developed to articulate curriculum, understand curriculum, deliver the curriculum, and grade students based off of a letter grade model, which I still don't understand. The difference between an A and an A minus, right? That doesn't show the competencies we need to build and skills we need to build in students. So that's where, Dr. B stated from the outset, this needs a serial disruption and a radical shift in order to truly to find out who our students are and how we can best educate them based off their interests and ability.
Yeah, and then we have to understand that every person is different and we all learn differently, right? And the most important thing, even the interest that we have is different. And if we can discover it when our children are very young, I know that my son was tearing cars apart, he was tearing things apart, and I was so, like, I would be freaking out and I would be upset that we would buy him like $100 remote car and then he would break it apart. But he works with airplanes, and it was the curiosity of how does this work, when I push this button. But if we're able to tap into our children's interest and figure out why are they doing what they're doing, and we begin to link it to long-term careers, we can begin to put them on the right path, for exploring their interest in their lives. I know that the first time I went to college, they were like, okay, what do you want to be? What do you like? And I told them, well, I like music, I like dancing, I gave them a list, and they were like, oh, sorry, honey, you have to go home and really figure out what you want to do. But guess what? I do everything. I'm a dancer, I like singing, I do podcasts, I'm writing, and I hated writing. So for those of you that are out there and you feel that you're an awful writer, like I hated writing. In fact, I think I would get C's because language was my problem and people didn't know how to teach me because I came from a Spanish speaking home in a monolingual English classroom where it was pure lectures and I was completely lost the whole time and I was like left behind. I mean, actually always left behind. And then I was shy, so I wasn't going to tell teachers I didn't understand, so I wouldn't be embarrassed. So there's so many elements into a student's learning and capacity, and it's not that they don't know and they're not smart. It's how we're teaching them, and so it's really exploring and getting to know our children, and then figuring out the systems on teaching them as we're building, I guess, the structure for every child. I think, I was a special education director, and I really think everybody needs an IEP, an individual educational program.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, anyways, Kevin, do you want to say anything?
Well, I like the conversation because any type of a movement that has success long term has to include the young people, right? They're in the education system, so we need to listen to what they have to say and advocate for them, but also encourage them to be on the forefront. Because based upon what Dr. Connor explained, you're going up against a system that if they don't continue along this current route, it threatens the accreditation. And so, and no, the education system does not want to lose their accreditation. So that's the big elephant that's in the room. So having the conversation and a movement to help people in the system to understand the why it should be transformed for the betterment of the next generation. It's going to be a long process, but it definitely has to include the young people. So the big threat is losing the accreditation. When you talk to people that work in the school system, the education system, we can't do that. We can't have that conversation because we can't afford to. If we lose our accreditation, then what are we going to do? And that's just the reality of the conversation because I've had it with many different people. So any type of a movement, women's rights, equal justice, fair payment for women in pro sports, civil rights, any type of a movement always engages the younger generation to come out and step up and say, hey, this is what we demand, and you're going to listen because we're coming with one unified voice.
And you know what? There's a fine line because I know that as an educator in the educational system, I would speak up and I would try to talk to them about the things that I disagreed and the changes that needed to be made. And always having to go with the higher ups, and then they're like, we can't do anything, we can't change anything. But there's a fine line because people can see us as troublemakers instead of movers and shakers, you know.
Because you are disrupting
Mm.
their norm. So
Yeah.
you are a disruptor when you
I
say
know.
that. Not a troublemaker.
No, yeah.
But you make the waves, and
Yeah.
not settling for the status quo.
Yeah.
I did horrible in school. I did horrible. I was in special education classes. I was, and now I realize now, as a 47-year-old man, I'm not dumb.
Right.
But it took a long time because that system of A's, B's, and C's
Right.
and F's, I don't know where the rest of the letters went,
Yeah.
but that didn't qualify me in their system. I went to college when I went to my secondary education. We did everything collaborative.
Yeah.
We did everything working together. We had labs together. We had hands-on. We took tests separately, but everything else was worked as a team. And I graduated third in the school because of the style of education was changed, the purpose of education was changed, and I was able to excel to the place where now I've done all kinds of great things, made a lot of money, doing a lot of fun stuff, and with confidence. But it didn't come from my primary education.
Right.
I had to fight through that to survive, and then made it out. I used to put my head down in class because I could hear it and make a beat on a test, just audio listening and just going on. But they didn't appreciate that.
Right.
They thought I was being disrespectful to the system because I didn't have to look at them while they were talking. But see, that shouldn't matter if you're making the grades.
Exactly.
You know, those are the things that education, those shifts are, and we're talking 30 years ago.
Mhm.
And those shifts are still not all the way to where we are now.
Yeah.
My daughter's a junior in high school, and the way that they're teaching certain things, and I don't want to call out certain teachers or because I would never be negative. I
Right.
support the school, but she comes home and my wife has to reteach her how to do whatever it is because there's no place for a different type of learning style, and she's not dumb. She's a captain of the color guard, and she's in the plays and all the kind of stuff.
Right.
She's successful, but our systems aren't always compatible with.
Right. Because I know that we have to kind of do some type of measurement to determine, okay, are they learning? Are they passing? But then grades are defining them as being intelligent or struggling. But then we should be able to discover why are they struggling, not labeling them as slow
Right.
or learning disabled. Of course, I gave labels because I also had my certification as educational diagnostician, but knowing what I know now, looking at how we process information and how we learn, I went deep into doing research in human development and learning, and because I struggled in learning. So I think we really need to discover our kids and figure out something different. And that's why we put all of you 30 co-authors to come together and really share your stories. But I'm going to let you kind of end with a statement, a quote, and then tell us where can people find you. Kevin?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So, I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Johnson Leadership Group, and our web address is www.thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. We have a team of 10 diverse certified trainers and mentors, coaches, and speakers, primarily on the topic of leadership, but we focus on a lot of different areas as well to kind of help develop the teams. I'll leave you with this, and this is a theme that we recently adopted, and it is know better, do better, lead better. And what we mean by that is soak up knowledge, get information, don't let your thirst quench, and never be satisfied as it relates to your hunger to learn, because leaders are learners. But once we learn, now we have to do better. We have to implement, execute, do something. And then as a result of knowing better and then doing better, now we're in a position to lead better. So that's the theme that we pretty much operate on. I have it up on my website. Anything that I can do to support you, your team, and your organization, just reach out and touch. We'd love to meet you and work with you.
I love it. And then if you could type your information in the Facebook chat, Kevin, that would be great. Also, I'm going to be sending you the YouTube link. You can go post your information there and people can find you. I do want to say that I'm Dr. B. I'm on Radio Metroplex, Capturando Tu Historia, which is also Power Talk radio show every Friday at 5 p.m. Central. We connect with you here. I bring experts like them to be able to tell their story and share their how they got to where they are right now, so that we can inspire and motivate and give people that courage so that you can step into your greatness and never ever give up, no matter how hard things get in life. Also, I just have to announce that November 11th of this year, I'm going to be having my first fashion show. So I am looking for women that are cancer survivors that would like to be models. If you would like to be in my fashion show, connect with me, send me a DM, send me a message, and we're going to have some auditions very soon, and I would love to have you be in my fashion show. We are raising funds for women to make some wishes come true for some of those women that do have cancer. Again, thank you, and I'm going to let Dr. Connor go next.
Thank you, Dr. B, and great show. So if anybody wants to reach me, my website is agileevolutionarygroup.com, all one word, and my email that you can reach me at is m.connor with an E at agileevolutionarygroup.com. And a quote I always live by, right? And I think that education is at this precipice moving forward is without struggle, there's no progress, right? From the great Frederick Douglass. And we are going to expect struggle, as we continue to try to change this model. We're going to expect struggle as we continue to try to change the vernacular and the perspective about kids. But that is the only way to reach progress, as Kevin was talking about, a movement that is going to take time, albeit it is worth the time, because there's 2 generations depending on us. So, Dr. B and everybody, thank you for having me on. This was such a great dialogue, such a great conversation.
Thank you for saying yes and for being here, gentlemen. Also, for those of you that are watching, you need to connect with them. They're amazing experts, entrepreneurs, and leaders in their field. If you're watching the replay right now or watching the show right now, go ahead and do the replay. Watch what they have to say, connect with them. And if you want to write a book or want to write a chapter, connect with me. I'm a publisher. It's a big global publishing company. But the most important thing, if you want to connect with Etna Valores, we have 30 experts joining the movement, and they're going to be speaking, and we're going to be going around the world sharing our message and shaking and moving systems to create some change. So connect with us. And then we have a meeting.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen, sharing some time with you and your thoughts. I think that it's worthy of our efforts to see those things happen for our generations coming up. And if you want to get with me, come see me at the restaurant, wellscattlecove.com. That's the website. Come see me downtown Rockwall. We also own the ranch that the beef comes from, Wells Cattle Company. And then I'm also writing a book, and it's called The Ranch to Table, and how we've grown from startup, nothing, to doing a good job, I think, every day, reaching people. So
Yeah.
thanks for the invite.
And guys, whenever you're here in town and you're in Rockefeller, come and eat his burgers.
Si no baila, no
They're
verá las
delicious.
hamburguesas.
And let me tell you, you cannot not be in our show and we don't dance. Okay? We
No
can
dancing, no
dance
burgers.
here. Because we have to dance the rhythm of life. You see, there's going to be moments in life that you're like stuck. There's going to be moments that you're going to be paralyzed. There's going to be moments in life that you just want to scream or yell. But you have to move. Move as much as you can. And what we do in this show is we always dance. We end up with a dance. And so we're going to put a bachata. I don't know if you like dancing, but you could just move your hands or whatever.
I like dancing.
I don't know. I just like to watch. I was these guys on the screen.
Yeah.
Tu vida es un baile.
Thank y'all.
Anyways, we're going to close up with moving our
Eso, ven, eso,
bodies.
ven, eso.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Kohler.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for joining us. What we want to tell you is you have to move your body, find the right people, connect with someone to really break through your moment. And what I do is I dance through life to make things happen. So dance with me. Dr. B, every Friday at 5 p.m. Central, here on Radio Metroplex, Facturando Tu Historia, which is Power Talk radio show. We sometimes speak Spanglish here, English and Spanish, or sometimes like it's all English, but connect with us. See you later.
All right.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.